I'm craving band candy. Like and subscribe and drop us a line. I don't make threats, but I do keep promises. And I promise you I shall cause you more trouble than you bargained for if you don't return my property. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into part 3 of my Doctor Who Scariest Behind the Sofa series. And if you've been following the channel, you know we've already covered some of the most terrifying Tom Baker, Peter Davison, Colin Baker, and Sylvester McCoy stories. But now it's time to go all the way back, even before John Pertwee, to where the nightmares began. We're looking at 13 of the scariest William Hartnell and Patrick Troughton stories, episodes that terrified kids in the 60s, made parents write angry letters to the BBC, and helped cement Doctor Who's reputation as the show children watched from behind the sofa. These episodes are atmospheric, they're weird, they're experimental, and they gave us some of the most iconic monsters the show ever created. So go ahead, grab your sonic screwdriver, turn down the lights, and let's step into the uncanny, unsettling world of classic Doctor Who. And number 1, The Edge of Destruction, 1964, William Hartnell's era. We're kicking things off today with arguably the strangest story in all of classic Doctor Who, The Edge of Destruction, a 2-part psychological thriller that turns the TARDIS itself into a haunted house. A mysterious explosion knocks the crew unconscious, and when they wake up, everything is wrong. Doors slam by themselves, clocks melt. The Doctor becomes paranoid and accuses his companions of sabotage. His granddaughter Susan has a full-blown breakdown and stabs at people with scissors, one of the most shocking moments in early Doctor Who. The horror here is pure paranoia. There's no monster, there's no alien, just the terrifying idea that the people you trust might suddenly turn on you. It's legacy. This episode is the first to portray the TARDIS as a living entity, something mysterious, powerful, dangerous. It also proved that Doctor Who could do psychological horror decades before bottle episodes became a TV trend. And number 2, The Abominable Snowman, 1967, Patrick Troughton's era. This is atmospheric horror done right. The Doctor arrives at a remote Tibetan monastery plagued by what appears to be Yeti attacks. But the real threat is the Great Intelligence, a formless, bodiless entity that possesses monks and manipulates events in the shadows. The Yeti are huge, silent, lumbering through the mist like nightmare beasts, and the isolation makes everything feel hopeless and claustrophobic. Its living legacy. This story introduced the Great Intelligence, which will return decades later in modern Doctor Who, namely The Snowman, Matt Smith's Christmas-era episode. The mood, the visuals also helped shape the Web of Fear, one of the most beloved horror stories in the show's history. When the Doctor gets captured by the monks, for me, it recalled David Tennant's era, Tooth and Claw. Yes, the robot Yeti became one of the most popular monsters of this bygone era. And of course, we are introduced to the monk's spiritual leader. His voice is calm, soothing, yet swelling with menace, recalling Sutekh from Pyramids of Mars. Of course, he has a dual personality, the spirit, as it talks to select monks with the voice of a sinister savage. Spoiler alert, we lift the curtain only to find things of legend and infamy. Of course, it's the Greater Intelligence. And number 3, The Dalek Invasion of Earth, 1964, William Hartnell's era. Now this is where Doctor Who went full apocalyptic. The Doctor lands in a silent, devastated London, where the Daleks have conquered Earth. The imagery is iconic. A Dalek emerging from the Thames. Daleks patrolling ruined streets. Human beings reduced to robo-men. Brainwashed slaves stripped of identity. This serial terrified an entire generation because it made the Daleks feel real. This wasn't a far-off alien world. This was our world, Earth. Its living legacy. It solidified the Daleks' place as the show's ultimate villains. The bleak tone also influenced modern stories like The Dalek, Army of a Ghost, and The Parting of the Ways. And in the end, after surviving terror, enslavement, totalitarian rule, the Doctor makes a shocking decision. He locks his granddaughter Susan outside the TARDIS, forcing her to stay behind with a man named David, the man she loves. It's brutal. It's tender. It's one of the most emotionally devastating scenes in the entire era. While Susan pounds on the TARDIS door, begging to continue to travel with her grandfather, the Doctor speaks through the intercom, delivering one of the show's most iconic speeches ever written. "You're still my grandchild, and always will be. But you're a woman now, Susan. You have grown up, and I must let you go." It's a moment of pure storytelling weight, a reminder that a life of adventures is thrilling, yes, but it can also prevent someone from truly living. The Doctor isn't abandoning her. He's setting her free. The terror of the Dalek occupation is contrasted with the deeply human fear of change, of growing up, of letting go. And number 4, the Moon Base, 1967, Patrick Troughton's era. You want body horror? Well, the Moon Base delivers. A dangerous virus infiltrates a base on the moon, and one by one, crew members collapse, only to rise again under Cyberman control. The Cybermen are at their creepiest here, thin, silent, unfeeling, and they speak in low, whispery, mechanical tones with no emotion at all. Its legacy. The story cemented the Cybermen as Doctor Who's most terrifying creatures, next to the Daleks. It codified the Cybermen as body horror icons, and perfected the base under siege formula as well. Cybermen silently entering medical bays. And that chilling line, "There's no need to be afraid." Yes, it's that trap with monsters atmosphere. It also influenced Earthshock and the 2006 revival design. And number 5, the Macro Terra, 1967, Patrick Troughton's era. Imagine a brightly lit, cheerful utopia, where everyone is secretly brainwashed by giant crab monsters lurking in the shadows. Well, that's the Macro Terra, and it's one of the most unsettling concepts in the entire classic run. People are hypnotized by propaganda. They repeat slogans. They smile constantly, and they wake up screaming from nightmares they can't remember. The Macro themselves appear as huge monstrous shapes just beyond the darkness. In other words, a perfect dystopian nightmare. Its legacy? The Macro returned in Gridlock, of course, the 10th Doctor's era, David Tennant, in a more feral form. This serial stands as a great example of Doctor Who using dystopian horror, decades before it became mainstream. It's also one of the infamous lost episodes, which is now fully restored in beautiful animation. At number 6, The Web Planet, 1965, William Hartnell's era. This is Doctor Who at its most bizarre. A world ruled entirely by giant insect races. The ant-like Zarbi, the moth-like Menoptera, and the spider-like Animus. Everything feels wrong. The lightning is harsh, the sound distorted. Characters move strangely, adding to the surreal, dreamlike tone. Its legacy, although very divisive, The Web Planet remains historic for its ambition. It pushed Doctor Who into pure alien surrealism and influenced later fully non-human worlds. To be honest, I was one of the ones that did not like this episode when I first saw it, to be completely transparent. But the more I watched it, the more I realized the commitment they made. This is the first ever episode like this. It was the earliest attempt at immersive world building on a TV budget. It pushed Doctor Who into full-on alien surrealism, and this came way before Star Trek, Space 1999, Buck Rogers. The commitment and the ambition is what makes this one so great. And the more I watch it, the more I love it. And that's why I added it to this list. At number 7, The Ice Warriors, 1967, the Patrick Troughton's era. The Ice Warriors make their debut on a future Earth frozen in a new ice age. When scientists thaw out a massive armored figure, it awakens and calls its army. What makes them scary is their presence. Huge, reptilian, hissing, broken voices. Slow, methodical movement, like classic movie monsters. Now its legacy, the Ice Warriors became a staple of classic and modern Who. Their introduction here remains one of the most atmospheric Troughton-era serials of all time. The Ice Warriors would go on to make 5 more appearances, including one we'll talk about later, Seeds of Death, and of course, The Curse of Peladon, The Monster of Peladon, the John Pertwee era, and of course, a new Who, Cold War, Matt Smith era, and The Empress of Mars, in Peter Capaldi's last season. And is it just me, but have you ever noticed that Xaxiar, the Ice Lord, favors Marvin the Martian? I guess that's why I kind of like Marvin. Oh well. What can I say? At number 8, The Sensorites, 1964, William Hartnell's era. This is one of those stories that creeps up on you. The Doctor encounters a telepathic alien race called the Sensorites, who can influence and manipulate the minds of humans. What makes it scary is the paranoia. Crew members act strangely, people collapse from mental attacks, and the Sensorites themselves appear silently at windows or doorways, staring in with blank, expressionless faces. Mind control here is the big horror hook, and the pacing creates that creeping paranoia. You never know who's being influenced. And the crew's mental deterioration gives it a haunted spaceship vibe. Its legacy, early exploration of telepathic and psychic horror, even introduced ideas later used for the fan favorite Ood, the Great Intelligence, and the Troughton-era paranoia themes. Shows how early Doctor Who can handle slow burn, psychological dread. And number 9, The Web of Fear, 1968, Patrick Troughton's era. The Yeti return, this time in the London Underground. Thick, unnatural webbing spreads throughout tunnels. Soldiers disappear. And of course, with the Yeti comes their master, the Greater Intelligence, who attempts to manifest physically. The underground setting is a pitch-black nightmare. The Yeti appears silently, often right behind characters. Soldiers vanish mid-conversation. This feels like a straight horror film, disguised as Doctor Who. Its legacy? Well, it introduced one of the most iconic characters in the series. Colonel Brigadier Alistair Gordon Lethbridge Stewart, played by the great Nicholas Courtney. Revered by many to be the most influential classic Doctor Who horrors of all time. It inspired real-life complaints that the Yeti made children afraid of the underground tube for years. Well, go figure. Coming in at number 10, The Faceless Ones, 1967, Patrick Troughton's era. The story? At Gatwick Airport, people are vanishing, and they're being replaced by identical doppelgangers, grown by an alien race called the Chameleons, who steal human identities. Loss of identity and autonomy, people disappearing in plain sight, and those emotionless replacements are truly unnerving. This is body snatcher paranoia at its finest. Yes, that downright frightening idea of being replaced. People around you acting off, just slightly wrong, and the tension of not knowing who's real. Its legacy? This story paved the way for the Zygons and other shape-shifting villains. It also marked the end of the Ben and Polly era. 2 companions, giving it emotional weight and making room for one of the most beloved characters ever, Fraser Hines, as Jamie. And this is another lost episode, restored fully in beautiful animation. I highly recommend watching it. And number 11, one of my favorites, The War Machines, 1966, William Hartnell's era. The War Machines feels shockingly modern. A supercomputer called Wotan becomes sentient and decides humanity needs to be replaced. Its voice alone is unnerving enough, cold, commanding, and it even refers to the Doctor as Doctor Who, which somehow makes it even creepier. What really sells the horror is the imagery. War machines, giant robotic tanks, stalking the empty streets of London at night. People falling under mind control with blank, hollow faces. A full-scale technological uprising, long before Terminator ever existed. Its impact, it introduced modern-day unit-era vibes. It showed Doctor Who could do tech-based horror as well as gothic. And it's one of Hartnell's most modern-feeling stories. As a matter of fact, I would say it's one of Hartnell's best performances. Over 6 decades, we've seen almost 18 different actors play the Doctor. Hartnell was the original, and his take now feels very unique, off-kilter, eccentric, enigmatic, magical, something special to behold. This one predicted the dangers of AI, automation, and mass surveillance decades in advance. It also paved the way of the concept of the Doctor battling threats on modern Earth. And number 12, The Seeds of Death, 1969, Patrick Troughton's era. The Ice Warriors make their return, unleashing deadly pods that explode into clouds of suffocating foam. These seeds produce white, expanding fungus that smothers everything in its path. Crowded cities fall silent as the spores spread. Entire sections of Earth become blanketed in the deadly fog, and the Doctor races across frozen landscapes and collapsing bases as the Ice Warriors stalk through the mist. The suffocation sequence, the slow creeping spread of the fungus, is pure apocalyptic horror. Its legacy, it influenced later Earth in Peril stories, and it helped solidify the Ice Warriors as top-tier Doctor Who villains. And this has always been considered one of the strongest Ice Warrior stories of all time. It reinforced environmental and infectious horror themes, and the spores influenced future plague-based episodes. And at number 13, our final entry, Fury from the Deep, 1968, the Patrick Troughton era once again. Arguably the scariest Patrick Troughton story. Killer seaweed infest a gas refinery, taking over machinery and possessing humans with terrifying, frozen smiles and shrieking voices. The hissing sound of the seaweed became legendary for how it deeply disturbed children. One of the most horrifying sequences involves Oak and Quill, 2 refinery workers silently approaching a woman, smiling unnaturally and releasing toxic gas as she collapses. Even the animated reconstruction is still just as chilling. Possession, suffocation, the relentless hissing sound, and some of the best horror acting in the entire classic series. Its legacy, often cited as the scariest lost story, inspired modern possession stories, most notably The Waters of Mars. Victoria's exit, the companion, adds emotional weight and tragedy. There you have it. That wraps up part 3 of our Hartnell and Troughton edition. These early years laid the groundwork for everything the show had become. They experimented with tone, fear, atmosphere. They created some of the most influential science fiction horror moments in television history. And well, what can I say? I do have 10 more. John Pertwee, Tom Baker, Peter Davison, Colin Baker, and Sylvester McCoy episodes that will finalize this series once and for all. Part 4 is coming. Okay, so I lied. But yes, it's coming. Thank you for joining me. I'm Craven Bane Candy, and wherever you may be, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Good riddance.